online gaming bill that has been tabled in Parliament is S. Krishnan, the MeitY Secretary. Mr. Krishnan, thank you so much for speaking to us on, I think, what has been the biggest issue, and has the industry also saying that maybe this is a death knell for a 2 lakh crore business. But can you start by explaining the thinking behind this bill and what the intent is?
Thank you for having me on your show. The intent behind this bill is that the government believes that there is a large segment of gaming development gamers, and there's an entire ecosystem there, which can potentially make India the game development capital of the world. And a number of measures have been taken to actually support that. The National Institute of Creative Technology is coming up in Mumbai. STPI, which functions under MeitY, has centers of excellence both in Hyderabad as part of T-Hub and also in the Northeast. And we are working through a number of other ways by which gaming-related development is being focused on. One of the issues which has repeatedly come up in the gaming sector has been clarity on classification. Many parts of the gaming sector believe that they are tarred by association, and there is a segment of the gaming sector which is causing distress, financial distress, social distress related to addiction and so on. One part of it is doing that, whereas another part is really positively oriented in terms of gamification, development, content development, creative development, and so on. Government's intent is very clear that the portion which relates to the positive outcomes needs to be encouraged and developed. And for that, a clear delineation has to be made between the two parts of the industry. And therefore, there's a clear definition which has been offered in this act of within online gaming, of esports and online social games, which include both recreational and educational games. So these two on the one side have been taken up for special attention for development and further promotion. And on the other side are the online money games, which involve a number of other games which are proving to be addictive and problematic. This is a concern which has been raised in multiple parliamentary committees by people from across the political spectrum. The ministry has also been receiving a lot of these issues as elements of concern. And within the government, there's been considerable concern in this area. And many people who offer even other forms of games have actually represented to government saying that this clarity needs to be given, and there needs to be a mechanism by which the online social gaming industry, the online esports industry needs to be supported and developed. Sure. So that is the primary focus.
May I ask, sir? So a couple of things have happened. Of course, this classification is important. Although the classification between skill and luck now has been extinguished. It's about money or no money, online money gaming and other categories.
Sorry. You see, the point here is that between skill and luck, because I think this slight gray area in the law has been used by a number of the proponents and platforms of this game to actually argue what suits them in different jurisdictions. There are no games of pure chance. Pure chance would mean that it is equivalent to a coin toss. And in a coin toss, the outcome should be 50-50. 50% of the time you win, 50% of the time you lose. That kind of thing doesn't actually come out in real life in any of these games. It's a combination of skill and luck, skill and chance. Both of them are there. They're not pure chance in all cases. There is a combination of skill and chance. And that is being used as to saying that state governments cannot legislate in this area because state governments are empowered only to regulate betting and gambling, which is an item under the state list. Now, other forms of games are part of broader trade and commerce. And in fact, in one of the cases, the Madras High Court has ruled that even if a state government wants to regulate games of skill within their boundaries, within the boundary of a state, then it is regulating trade and commerce, and that is permissible under the Constitution. The government of India has the power under List 1 of the Constitution to take up matters under item, I think it's 41 and 42, which deal with which deal with trade and commerce, interstate trade and commerce, and cross-border trade and commerce. Many of these games are offered on the basis of either interstate or cross-border trade and commerce. And therefore, I think it is legitimately within the government of India's remit to legislate on this. And the distinction of looking at between is it a game of pure chance and pure skill is something which is very difficult to decide in such cases, and it will be an endless debate. The problem is the social distress is real. People losing money, assuming or thinking that they have the skills to beat whatever is the system on the other side is a constant temptation. And this is the social distress I think the government has recognized.
Mr. Krishnan, thank you so much for speaking with us. We've understood the rationale of the bill now. Just a technical clarification required now. It has been introduced in the Parliament now. What is the chance that it is referred to a select parliamentary panel now for further scrutiny? And secondly, sir, there was no draft bill that came out prior to this online gaming bill coming out. Why is that, sir?
No, the second part of the question, I mean, a draft bill is not a requirement. It's not as if it's a matter of parliamentary procedure or legislative procedure for a draft bill to be brought out every time. I think there's been a fair amount of consultation in this area. I think different segments of the industry have been representing to the government for quite some time. We are aware of their contentions. We are aware of what they say. So to that extent, to say that the government is not aware of this area is not fair. And whatever concerns are there can certainly be reflected in the parliamentary debate, and all of that, I'm sure, will come out there. As far as whether it will get referred to a select committee or whether it will get discussed, I'm not the competent person to decide that. That is something which will get decided in the parliament.
Mr. Krishnan, one of the contentions that is being made by the industry is about livelihoods being lost. And I take on board everything that you've described about the social fabric and the distress that these games are creating. But I'm sure that the government has weighed the pros and cons and come to the decision that it has right now. In conversations with industry, what is the kind of tone and tenor of the conversation that has so far taken place?
As far as the livelihoods are concerned, I think as this was being discussed internally, definitely one of the points which was clearly made was that while there are jobs, and it's not that we were not aware that there are jobs to be lost, the point which was clearly made was that the jobs to be lost would possibly be in the thousands, but the livelihoods lost is for tens of crores, in fact, hundreds of millions of people. Because industry estimates themselves show that about 450 million people play various kinds of real money games or money games. So I think when you're talking about livelihoods, the concern really is about the livelihoods of those 450 million people, many of whom are poor, many of whom can ill afford it, many of whom are depriving of their families by getting addicted to these games.
So I just want to also understand, because in the past there have been situations where the top courts have been involved, and you very clearly described the game of chance versus game of skill and the fact that there is no clarity between the two. I'm just wondering whether a legal argument will be made down the line, or will a law being framed clear the way for no challenges down the line?
See, this is a democratic country. There's rule of law. Matters can and do go to the courts for final decision. The definition that we have adopted of real money game is game of skill or game of chance or both. So we are covering all of them. And I think we believe that this is part of economic activity in the country as a trade or a commerce, and it is legitimate to define an activity in that manner. So I do not think that this is going to be an issue in terms of can you define it in this manner. We will see whether it is what happens in a court of law is something which we will have to be prepared for a legal battle if it comes up to that. I think we have a strong case to defend, and we will defend it.
Sure, and there seems to be, like you said, unity across the political spectrum on the harms of this. The one point that the industry is making, and I wanted your response to that, is that this kind of a clampdown will push those who want to indulge in these games to fly-by-night operators below the radar. Isn't it better to regulate an industry instead of effectively shutting it down? What would you say to that argument, sir?
See, I think that is something which was considered, and the approach chosen was this particular approach. Yes, always when there is something which is prohibited, there will be an enforcement challenge, but that is an administrative challenge. That is for all of us who are in positions of implementing laws to find technological and other means to actually address it. And it is always a technological challenge, and we will continue to address it. I can inform you factually that the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology in the past few years has blocked nearly about 1,524 such illegal online games which are being offered. It's a constant exercise. It's an ongoing exercise. Whenever we come across such cases, whenever they are brought to our notice, we do block them. The Act also, the new bill which has been introduced, also has a provision to permit such blocking under Section 69A of the Information Technology Act 2000. And that is the primary provision which will be used. Also, the fact that, you know, there is a prohibition on money being transacted through normal channels, that again will be a channel which will be used. Now, beyond this, if there are technological channels which will get used, we will have to address them through technological means.
Sir, Mr. Krishnan, Rishabh here. One question I'd like to ask is on, I'm sure the government has also taken into account the fact that this is a major GST providing sector for the government in terms of revenue as well. Given that the revenues from these platforms will shrink or completely vanish, what is the sort of outlook there in terms of making up for that shortfall?
Our estimate showed that in 2023-24, roughly about 15,000 crores was collected as GST. I do not have the 24-25 numbers with me. Now, the question is that, actually the half year from October to March, the collection was about 6,909 crores. So because after the tax was imposed, so if you sort of count it for the full year, it will roughly be about 14,000 or 15,000 crore. I think given the overall tax collection in the country, it is not that large. But I mean, setting the number aside, I think the question is that the government believes that you don't have to necessarily collect taxes, or you don't have to permit activities just in order to collect taxes. There are other issues which need to be tackled. There is the social distress issue which needs to be addressed, and it is not essential that we address it only on the basis of the possible tax revenue that could be there.
There are larger considerations sometime, and rightly said. Thank you so much, Mr. S. Krishnan, for speaking with us. The MeitY Secretary there answering all our questions, and this is really the big one. It's well thought out. Now, it might go through its various processes, may go to a select committee, maybe challenged in court, and those processes will continue. But in terms of the government intent, it's very, very clear that this is not something that they want to encourage. And this is specific to online money gaming, not every game that you play online.